What is up, gamers? Staxwell's back at it again today with another video. I was going through one of my videos from like a year ago. It was a year ago, it was last January, and I was talking about like the top 5 cards to pick up for 2023. And I was thinking about revisiting that segment and doing it again in 2024. But one thing I noticed from that video was like, I took some L's, I took some dubs on like the cards I called back then. But one thing I did really well is I called like what was going to happen very well. Like, for example, I said there was going to be a new Kasai. This was a year ago. I said it was going to be an adult Kasai, and then adult Kasai came. I also predicted the return to Monarch last year. I predicted there was going to be another Shadow Hero, more specifically a Shadow Runeblade. I said it was going to be Icelander, Fi, and Dash were going to be the best decks. The top 3 at Worlds was Icelander, Dash, and Fi. So I think I have kind of a knack for seeing like where this stuff is gonna go, or maybe I just got lucky. I'm not sure. Kind of trying to test the theory, and I want to do some predictions this year. And instead of focusing so much on the cards, I want to focus more on the events, and then we could talk about the cards that we could spec into to prepare ourselves for these predictions if we're crazy enough to think that Staxwell could possibly get some of this stuff right. But these are things I really do think is going to happen. Yeah, I'm buying cards in preparation for it. So I thought you guys might find this interesting. I thought you guys might want to pick up some of the cards I am looking at as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump straight in here. The first thing I think is going to happen, as you probably guessed by Storm Striders being pulled up here, is I think there's going to be a new wizard. I think, only having one playable wizard obviously isn't going to cut it for the whole year. I think LSS is going to print another one. This is a pretty cold take here, starting you guys off easy. They're going to get spicier as we go, trust me. But, obviously, if there's going to be a new wizard, we want to have Storm Striders in our binder. We want to be ready for that kind of thing. You could look at all the wizard cards and kind of speculate as to what kind of wizard it's going to be, as to like what card you're going to pick up. But really, Storm Striders is going to be in almost any wizard, and that's probably the safest pickup for it. My next prediction, this one's not really spicy, but I guess it kind of goes against the grain of the content creator guess, is that there's not going to be any type of PvE this year. I just don't think it's coming. I think they probably honestly scrapped what they had and had to start over or something. Because you remember how hype PvE was, 2 years ago, 1 year ago? It's all anyone talked about. I mean, I was talking about it every market watch. I was like, oh, pick up Cokes because PvE. Pick up Gorganian Tome because PvE. At this point, I think they might have just started redoing the whole thing, because we haven't heard a whisper of PvE in it's been over a year since anyone at LSS has even hinted at it. I would much rather them take their time with it and do it right than release something that isn't as fun as it could be. They really only have one shot to launch PvE, so it's very important that they do it correctly. If it's not even being hinted at in interviews, I'd say we're well over a year away. I'm not going to be looking at any PvE cards this year until I hear more about it. I'm not going to be speculating in any PvE cards or anything like that. But on the other end of that spectrum, I do think UPF is going to be pushed insanely hard. I know I heard that LSS upped their development team, up their marketing team, just up their staff in general. And a lot of those new staff members were focused on social play. Social play, of course, being UPF right now. This probably is also semi-laying the groundwork for PvE that will come in 2 or 3 years' time. But I think in the next year, these social play employees are going to be obviously focusing very hard on UPF. And that is going to be pushed very hard. I don't know to what extent, but I'm expecting exclusive promos for having to play UPF. Maybe like a UPF, I don't even know if they're going to go this big, like a UPF Battle Hardened or something like that. But it's definitely possible. I think they're going to definitely kind of try and force us all to try more UPF this year, which I guess I'm not totally against. I've only played one game. It wasn't my most fun flesh and blood experience, but I was also using a Riptide pre-con, so that could definitely have something to do with it. I'd be down to try more of it, but I think it's going to get pushed hard. What can we do if UPF starts getting pushed hard onto us? Good Deeds Don't Go Unnoticed is going to be a good UPF card. I'm sure that's going to be one. If there is UPF tournaments, if they're forcing us to play UPF, this is a very competitive UPF card. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to play it. Gorganian Tome, very good UPF card. And then several classes have these in archetype specific UPF cards, like for example Mechanologist, or more specifically Teklovasen has this Apocalypse Automation card. Plenty of in-archetype cards like this that you might want to look at picking up, particularly if they're like this one and they're only 73 cents. This is the kind of thing you would do if you were building like a competitive UPF deck. Next call isn't too spicy either. I think there's going to be a new class. If I had to guess, it would be either Necromancer or Alchemist, of course. And I don't know, I guess I lean a little bit more towards Alchemist because that one's been hinted at a little bit more. No cards we could speculate into or pick up if it's Necromancer, so it's just more interesting to theorize about Alchemist as well. All of the potions obviously being good speculations into it. Like the most expensive one is like Foil Energy Potion. If you're not picking up the cold foils, the regular foils of all these potions are just $1 or $2. The cold foils even on some of these potions, like all the Welcome to Wraith potions, I would just get them all rainbow foil. They're all just like $1 or $2. And then all of the Everfest potions, you could get them all cold foil. And even the Everfest potions are just $1 or $2 for the cold foils. So if you're looking at playsets of all of the potions, highest rarity that have ever been printed in Flesh and Blood, outside of like these promo cold foil potions, it would cost you like $15-$20. So if you have any inkling like I do that that Alchemist could be coming, that's an easy speculation right there, easy pickups. I don't think we're returning to Monarch this year. I know it's like a 3-part act or whatever, but I think the conclusion to that trilogy will be played out probably next year in 2025. I wouldn't spec super hard into like a Great Library of Solana or a Vestige of Soul or anything that's not currently good in the metagame. I wouldn't start picking that stuff up in preparation for the new Monarch, because again, I don't think that stuff's probably not going to come until 2025. I do also think we're getting a new Ranger. We're very Ranger light at the moment. Plenty of good Ranger cards to pick up. Some of the big ones being Codex of Frailty. You think it's expensive now? Waits until a new Ranger comes. New Horizon. I think this is just generically one of the better Ranger cards out there. 3 of a Kind, Rain Razors, Remorseless. Those kinds of cards will always be good as well. I also think we're going to get... This is one I actually haven't heard anyone talk about, and I don't know why. I think we're going to get the Adult Arachne Solitary Confinement this year. So I don't know if they're going to do like a return to the pits or something like that, because Ranger definitely needs help, and so does Assassin. Those are like the 2 classes. I guess it's like Ranger, Assassin, and Wizard. Wizard, I presume, will get a new hero, and then it will be Ranger and Assassin. Those will be the next 2 classes that need the most help, or need the most diversity, right? I mean, Assassin is a good class, but there's only 1 playable Assassin right now. Ranger is a good class, but there's only 1 playable Ranger right now. I don't think that's particularly where LSS wants to be with the classes, so I'm sure they want to give players of those classes more options. So the only way they could do that is either support the existing Rangers like Riptide, or support the existing Assassins like, Riptide and Arachne need to get support, or they need to print new heroes of those types. So I feel like they'll do both, honestly. And I actually think Riptide is going to get massive upgrades this year. So again, I kind of think that they have to return to the pits in a way, because we need a new Ranger and we need a new Assassin, right? The obvious play for Assassin is to just make the Adult Arachne, and then the obvious play for Ranger is to just make Riptide good, because people already like Riptide and people already like Arachne. So those kind of just fit right into me. And, it does sound kind of crazy to talk about those cards this early, but if we said at the beginning of last year that Bolton, Levia, and Azalea were going to be good by the end of the year, all 3 of which I would say are pretty decent, are pretty good, at least B-tier heroes or something. But if you said that at the beginning of last year, it would be a crazy statement. So it wouldn't surprise me if like Riptide, Teklovasen, and the current Arachne Huntsman all become meta contenders by the end of this year. The 2 outliers in that are definitely Riptide and Arachne. I think Teklo will have his day, but Riptide and Arachne I think have to come first, just because they came out first, so it kind of makes sense that they need to look at getting them LL'd before they look at getting a newer hero like Teklovasen LL'd. Okay, and just to bring this whole situation full circle, I had to do the setup first, right? So I think Arachne needs support, and I think Riptide needs support. And I think they're going to tie all of this together with a little bow on it and giving us the conclusion to the Emperor Arachne storyline. I think there's going to be a big jump forward lore wise from that. We're going to get some kind of conclusion or, like I said, significant push forward in the story. So I think they're going to do almost like an incorporation of like the Pits going to war with the people of the Dynasty set. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, forgive me. Let me know in the comments down below. So yeah, I could see like a half and half set, right? Like half Pits characters and then half Dynasty characters. And in this set, I could see us getting the Adult Arachne Solitary Confinement and the Adult Emperor. I could see both of them coming this year in this leap forward in that storyline set. It'd be like a Dynasty Pits 2 kind of set. So if we're expecting Riptide to get a lot of love, the obvious choices for Riptide cards is Riptide himself. The cold foil is only $73, pretty good pickup. Intoxicating Shot, it is like kind of experiencing a price hike right now, but you truly do never know when this support is going to come out. And you know, if it gets announced in the next set, you don't want to just be caught so far behind. So Intoxicating Shot, $6 right now. Maybe we'll look back at this price tag and wish we had bought it. And then another one I want to talk about is the legendary traps. So legendary cards in general are always very short printed. Not like a malicious short print or an unintentional short print. It's just less of them need to go into the boxes because they're legendary. You can only play one of them. So since less of them need to be out there, less of them are put into the packs. It's like an intentional design choice. And every legendary card, like let's just take a look at another unplayable legendary card for an unplayable hero, right? Oblivion, this card has been bought out so many times, $7. Again, this hero is probably just as popular. Viserai is probably just as popular as Riptide. So all of these legendary traps, I think, are going to see a pretty substantial price hike at some point. So yeah, if you wanted like the full Riptide kit, you know, you wanted the cold full Riptide, you wanted the 3 intoxicating shots, and you wanted the one of each of the legendary traps, it would only cost you like $100. And if you weren't looking to bling out the Riptide himself, you just wanted the 3 intoxicating shots and the 3 legendary traps. Was there 3 or 4 legendary traps? It would only cost you like $20, $25. So yeah, not a terribly steep investment into this either. I think everyone should have this, even if you think I'm wrong, because at some point Riptide has to LL, right? So it's kind of impossible to be wrong here, kind of like setting myself up not to fail, kind of not giving you the hottest of takes here, but at some point Riptide has to LL, right? So he'll have to be a good hero at some point. If he's a good hero, the price of his cards are going to go up. And then the last prediction I have for you is that Viserai finally gets good and finally LLs next year. I don't know what they're going to give him. I don't know if they're going to give him a weapon or more specializations or what they're going to give him. They've given him a lot of stuff recently, but it's all been kind of bad, to be honest. Riptide, I think, is one of their better IPs. I think it's one of the cooler looking heroes in the game, one of the more loved heroes in the game. And I think that they know that, and they're probably going to give our purple boy some love. So I personally, some obvious Viserai specific pickups, right? There's like obviously a lot of overlap with all of the rune blades, but some of the undervalued Viserai specific things is like Mordred Tide, it's $2. Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath, $1. Like these are very played Viserai, you know, majestics or supers. Become the Arknight, 39 cents. And then Sonata Phantasmia. This one just kind of recently got bought out, so maybe wait a little bit on it. But Sonata Phantasmia is $7. All this stuff is really cheap as well if you wanted to pick all of it up. I mean, just because of the Sonata buyout recently, it would cost you like $35 for a playset of all of it. Arknight Shard, if you're a big baller, you're going to need that if you're going to be wanting to play Viserai, no matter what direction they take him. I'm sure Arknight Shard will still be a good card. Not only for the reason that people just love Viserai, but also Arknight Shard and all of Viserai's other specializations. He has 5 specializations, I think. He might have more, but he has at least 5. And for all of these reasons, people love him. They keep printing cards exclusively for him. There's a Fabled for him. They don't like their cards to just plummet in value. I think they already have the next Viserai concept made. I think they already are expecting Viserai to LL at some point. And when he does, they already have the new Viserai like sketched up, made. It's probably in playtesting already because I think this IP is just too strong to let it die. But yeah, those are my big predictions for Flesh and Blood in 2024. What do you guys have? Do you guys have any hot takes? Let me know in the comments down below. I always reply to every comment. So let me know your hot take. I'll let you know if I agree, if I disagree, and we could revisit this whole video and all of these comments next year. So yeah, make sure you leave a comment. We'll read them all next year and kind of review ourselves and see how we did. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Only like 40% of my regular viewers, almost every video has like 40% viewers are subscribed, 60% are not. So go ahead and help me out. Smash that subscribe button. Later, gamers.